Do you know why the Blair government introduced the minimum wage?
No, I don't know.
So we never needed it before that because there was always supply and demand. Now, as someone who owns a business, you wouldn't want to overpay your staff if you could get them cheaper. Now, it sounds callous, but it's a business decision. So people get paid what they're worth. But when you flood the market with more workers, especially from Eastern Europe, that's what happened under Blair, suddenly there's an oversupply of workers. So therefore, supply and demand dictates wages can drop. Because if you don't want this job, pal, there's 17 more people queuing up outside the door to take the job. So to stop that happening, which was an immigration decision Tony Blair made to open the country up to Eastern Europe, he had to then introduce minimum wage to compensate for his political decision to allow mass immigration.
Oh.
So that was why we got minimum wage, because it was the only way he could ensure British people were getting a half decent wage.
Oh, which, right, they won't be priced out of the market.
Yeah. Now, if he hadn't interfered with mass migration,
He wouldn't have had to do it.
there wouldn't have been any need to interfere with the market, with the minimum wage. So every time the government messes with something, they then have to come back to do something else to fix the mess they made in the first place. And then what they normally do to fix the mess then creates another problem.
Yes.
So when we got the minimum wage and when we got mass migration, it still wasn't enough to live on. So what did they have to do? They had to create something called tax credits, meaning you work full time, but it's not enough money. So apply to the government and they top up your wages. What sort of system's that? And then we had big companies at that time hiring people, and on the day they started, they gave them benefit forms to claim extra money from the government.
Because that's how they made up their effective living wage, basically. Yeah.
So the government and taxpayer were subsidising businesses to employ people. And all this happened because the government started messing with the market, and it was all out of kilter. The markets work on supply and demand and will adjust depending on the situation.
Yeah.
But once you've got a huge force like the government, it all goes out of kilter.
Yeah, and that's about that's about letting the market dictate things rather than artificially interfering, which is a big issue, isn't it? And it's it's an issue that should be applied to the not zero ideas, to all these other ideas that the government are trying to leverage actual processes and protocols in. They should just leave it to the market. Let's have a government. Let's have a police force to stop anybody breaking the law, and then really just leave it to the market after that. And that's the best way to get the best out of the country.
We all think this. We all think we're clever than we really are. So do governments. So a good example would be in Afghanistan. There was a documentary a couple of years ago, and it was a captain of the British Army, and he told this story, which I never forgot, and I wrote about it in one of my books. When they were in Afghanistan, they were doing patrols of Helmand province, and they had certain routes they'd go. And they went through the same villages. So one of the villages had no water well, and the women had to go out every day to the river 2 miles away, get water, bring it back. So they built a water well in the village. And the next month they came past, well, it had been damaged, and they thought the Taliban had been and broken the well. So they fixed it. Came back a month later, broken again. They fixed it. They came back the next one, broken again. And while the army guys were fixing the well, the captain had to walk around the village with an Afghan interpreter. And these women approached him, all in covered, and
hijabs,
started shouting at him. But he didn't know what they were saying. And he said to her, what are they saying? Maybe I don't understand. Maybe they're thanking me. But no, they're unhappy. What are you unhappy about? They're saying to you, stop fixing the bloody well. We keep breaking it and you keep fixing it. Breaking the well and having to go to the river to fetch water is the only time we get away from our husbands. We're allowed to leave the house. And it's a social time for us.
We can take off our hijabs.
It takes us half a day to go there, collect water, come back. And when the well's working, we're not allowed to leave our houses. Stop fixing the well. So we stop fixing it. A good example of thinking you're doing the right things, but not understanding the complexities that's going on around you. They thought they were doing a good thing. They weren't. They were adding to the persecution of local women.
Correct. And we've talked about this before, and it's called Chesterton's fence, isn't
Yes.
it? When you come across a fence in a field and you don't know why it's there, don't take it down.
Yeah.
Because there is some reason it's there.
Yeah.
Somebody's put it there at some point for some reason. If you take it down, you've got no idea of the consequences. Yeah. But that's the nature of these grubby governments, isn't it? They're always fiddling and poking and trying to change things and you know, putting in little crappy rules like you know, like smaller glasses in pubs and all, you know, because they think, oh, if we do that, and we've talked about it before, this sixth form mentality, sixth form student politics that they seem to deploy all the time to try and manage a very complex country.
If only we could control you, your life would be happier.
Yes, yeah.
Did you enjoy that video? I think you did. Come on now, hit that bell, subscribe, comment. Let's build this channel. I need more followers. I need more subscribers. Be part of the journey. See you soon.